if you go to my channel, you will see that 2-ish videos before the Nuzlocke, I posted this. Now, was this a precursor to this video? No, absolutely not, I just thought it would be funny. But that dumb little video gave me an idea. What if I tried the whole game? Would it be even remotely possible? Now, the Darker Lord forces you to use all 10 teammates in all phases, that's completely inevitable. Therefore, the final destination of this run is practically the Red Frog, since it's the last boss before Darker Lord. So, is the rest possible? Without further ado, let's answer this. Can you beat Miitopia with only 2 people? I am covering both the mouse boss and the rock boss at the same time because they are practically the exact same boss, and the strategy to killing them is super straightforward and pretty easy. Just do all levels excluding River Deep Cavern until you have a gold flag on all of them, and then you are perfectly set and you will beat both of these bosses with relative ease. The Imp is hard for very obvious reasons. 1. It is at the very beginning of the game, therefore you don't have many sprinkles at all. 2. It is a magic attacker, meaning its attacks cannot be dodged by something like Warning, only working when he faces you. And finally, it has a lot of health. With a team like mine, which is neither offensive or defensive, the definitive strategy here is to practice what I like to call the safe spot limbo. If you get lucky, you can deal a lot of damage with something like Praise or Show Off, or both, if you're really lucky. But it's mostly just safe spot limboing. Another thing to keep in mind is to focus on killing all the jellies first, because their damage can rack up over time. Even with all of that, this boss is still very beatable and shouldn't take you that many attempts. King Golem. This is practically Imp, but far easier. Pretty much all the problems the Imp had doesn't apply here, and if it does, it's not to the same degree. First of all, you have more sprinkles than HP. Second, this boss is a physical attacker, meaning dodging attacks is actually the thing thanks to Warning. And finally, you have the Horse, which helps you deal way more damage using mounted attack. Overall, it's much easier than the Imp, but very similar at the same time. Okay, this boss is by far one of the hardest bosses I've ever fought in a video game. First of all, this is going to be a recurring theme throughout this whole video, but every boss that has 3 attacks per turn is really, really hard. This boss I would say is the hardest in the run with maybe 2 exceptions, solely because this is the only time in the run I had to grind. I grinded normal and relationship levels thanks to outing tickets and the roulette having the a ton of XP option, allowing me to get Polly and me pretty bulky as a result. Not do you only have to grind for this fight, you also have to very carefully plan out every move. I strategically entered the fight with my relationship bar being almost full, since whenever 2 people gain a relationship level together, they both fully heal. And thanks to the conditions of the challenge, for us, it's a full team heal. Another thing I had to plan out very carefully were the sprinkles. In my successful run, I only had to use sprinkles at the halfway mark for the first time. Another thing I had to do during the fight was, again, safe spot limboing. Overall, this boss was extremely hard and very annoying, but I luckily got past it. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I died twice to this stupid guy. Seriously, I died twice to this despite being over-leveled thanks to the Griffin. And the reason I died to it is because of the fact that he can turn people evil, and by consequence, waste their turn. Combined with his hard-hitting attack, the way this thing killed me twice is because he would just do this order of attacks. Attack someone, turn them evil, let them heal in the safe spot, attack and deal more damage than the person got healed in the safe spot, and repeat. This continuous pattern just chipped away at me and Polly, therefore resulting in 2 losses, before I got a run where he wouldn't turn someone evil every turn, allowing me and Polly to deal enough damage and finish him off. This boss isn't particularly hard, like, it really wasn't bad at all thanks to me just being, once again, over-leveled. I had one close call towards the end when me and Polly both got into the red, but otherwise it really wasn't bad. Thank you, Griffin, for making every single fight past you really easy thanks to me over-leveling. And with that, it's time for Neksdor. Can't wait for the pharaoh to ruin my run. Alright, now that my job is reset, we won't be over-leveled for every fight. I went ahead and chose, for the first time ever, Cleric. Now, I've almost always had a Cleric on my team in the form of Polly, but I've never actually been the healer. The closest I've ever gone to that is when I chose Chef during Neksdor in my Nuzlocke, and even then I just mostly spammed Found Bay, so I'm in for some new territory. And with the teammate of choice for Neksdor, I went with a Chef in the form of Rin. Will a healer-healer pair work against all of Neksdor's threats? Let's find out. Okay, so the Minotaur. This fight is pretty easy, but I'm just gonna say that when you have all healers, battles are hella long. Due to me usually just being used to the fast-paced nature of Maiden Scientists, it made me feel like I was in for a long ride, which I completely was. But an upside of being a healer is that relationship levels are far easier to grind due to healing your teammate, even by 1 HP, still boosts friendship. Therefore, most of my damage just came from Lend a Hand, Praise, Show Off, and Pincer. That's it for the Minotaur. I just need an excuse about how Neksdor battles will mostly play out. The Cobra is decently hard for 2 reasons. 1, it has a pretty powerful attack, and 2, it can spawn other Cobras, the most annoying one going to the blue one. During this fight, I was mostly just being a little prick, and instead of killing the blue Cobra, I just went ahead first into the purple one, wanting to kill that one first, which made the overall fight much harder. What was nice, however, is that due to me and Rin both being healers, we practically healed ourselves all the time, never really making failure something to worry about. It was mostly one of those fights that dragged on forever, but you aren't at any risk of failure at any time. Hey look, it's that one painting I was very worried about during my Nuzlocke. This fight isn't bad. By killing the 2 side enemies first, I practically made the fight a lot easier as a result. The painting doesn't really hit that hard luckily, with the one-hit attack being weaker than the AoE one. It's either that or I'm just really good at healing constantly, one of the two. Double King Golems, except easier. This fight is easy. A couple of flambés from Rin with some mounted attacks and we're done here. Before this fight, just like every other playthrough of this game that I did, I got myself Horseplay, and due to never being a cleric, I had no idea what the Horseplay ability would be. I thought it would be something like a very powerful version of the Aura attack. It was not. All it did was heal Rin. Despite that waste of 40 MP, this fight was basically a repeat of the underground painting boss, but a bit harder. Some of the quirks this fight has is that the sword and shield work together, and by that I mean the shield blocks incoming attacks to the sword and they attack together. But for some odd reason, the shield just didn't block attacks, allowing me to murder the sword and finish the fight really easily. Still pretty strange though. The moment you've all been waiting for, the pharaoh. I hate to break it to you, but this fight's easily cheesed by one strategy. That strategy is that whenever he curses at me, you put the other one in the safe spot, because this guy has 2 attacks per turn, one of them usually being a curse and the other being an AoE attack that deals around 11 damage. At this point in the game, your safe spot should heal quite a bit, so whenever he curses at me, put the other one in the safe spot so it can't get damaged by the AoE attack, then switch the 2, and the cursed me will be healed and uncursed by the safe spot, while the other me has a full bar of HP and can attack with practically no problem. Repeat this pattern whenever he curses at me and you will be able to get past this fight with no big problems. Which means it's time for Alma the Fae. We've had a defensive team, we've had a 50-50 team, it's now time for my area of expertise, offensive teams. Due to my job being reset once again, I went for what I usually pick during Realm of the Fae anyway, Scientist. This time, since our team will be offensive, our teammate of choice will be a princess, aka Krina, which, if you remember the Nuzlocke, yeah, I grinded relationship levels here again. This place has a ton of bosses, so let's just hope that the power of insanely high relationship levels will carry us through. Also, before we start, no, the fairies do not count as team members. They are classified as being temporary allies, and this does not mean I have to solo the whole world. Shut up. Here we go. Now, remember when I said that during Neksdor I unlocked Horseplay? Remember my Nuzlocke where I spammed Scientist Horseplay the whole time? Fae battles just went as following. Scientist Horseplay deals a ton of damage, and bulky as hell relationship levels do the rest. So, as a result, I'll just rapid fire through all Realm of the Fae bosses and just highlight the interesting moments. Here we go. Tina Spider. This battle literally went in the reverse order that I just described. By getting Horseplay super late, I practically dealt the finishing blow to it, and the rest was just relationship level madness. Tina Owl. I got the make everyone not think about what they're damn doing once. After that, it was exactly what I previously described playing out, due to me getting Horseplay on turn 2. Tomato Burrows. It was through this one that I realized how this boss actually works. Every time I fought this boss, it was always 2 people loving tomatoes and 2 hating them. This time, I loved tomatoes and Krina hated them. This means it's not 2 and 2, it's half the team that loves them and half the team that doesn't. The rest is exactly as described. Witch Slime. Literally nothing special. Scaredy Cat Butterfly. This fight went the exact same as Tina Spider did. Instead of getting Horseplay at the beginning, I got it at the end of the fight. And finally, Tina Frog. I got praised during the first turn and got Scientist Horseplay during turn 2, which dealt 346 damage. After that, in another 2 turns, it was already done. It's now time for what is most likely the hardest part of the whole run, Archetype. I can't wait to get demolished by the Cerberus. As you have just seen from that very cool, very epic montage, Carcassonne has a ton of bosses, most of which being decently difficult. Before we get into the bosses though, I want to mention a strategy that I had since Greenhorne. I specifically introduced Polly, who was my ally back in Greenhorne, last, because that means she would be one of the 3 teammates in Haven Hollow. Therefore, I don't have to solo the Cerberus because of every other teammate aside Polly, Rin, and Krina being level 1 to 2. This way, Polly was already level 12 due to me grinding during the Griffin, therefore allowing me to enter the Cerberus with 2 level 12 team members and a relationship with 30 plus. Alright, bosses now. Now, why did I skip Magma Slime and Pain Cloud? It's because those 2 are literally not possible to beat with more than 2 teammates. So, here we are. Burning Golem is pretty easy, all things considered. The game expects you to have 3 teammates with only 2 possible relationships due to the Neksdor / Realm of the Fae / Greenhorne teammates not knowing each other. Therefore, it doesn't throw that much at you. Once again, Scientist Horseplay helped a crap ton. And you also have the Great Sage, which helps dealing even more damage. Overall, decently easy fight. The moment you've all been waiting for. The Cerberus. Remember when I said during the Griffin that bosses with 3 turns are really hard? Yeah, it also applies here. Before this boss, I went ahead and switched to Mage since it's better than Scientist due to just having more abilities. But that also meant my Horseplay now depends on luck. Happily, most of the Horseplay hits landed, so we good. Another thing is that during this fight you get Hyper Sprinkles, which, knowing that Mage is really feral and a shit physical attacker, I gave them all to Polly, allowing her to deal quite a lot of damage. And you might be wondering, well, Daniel, if Polly was hyper and the Cerberus has pretty powerful attacks, how are you gonna heal? Well, wonderful viewer, there are 2 methods. 1. Sprinkles. By this point of the game, you already have a good amount of sprinkles, which means they are now a reliable source of healing. And the second method is the Great Sage's Heal, which heals a lot. So, overall a very challenging fight where I was greatly helped by the Great Sage, Hyper Sprinkles, and Horseplay. Remember when I said during the servers that bosses that have 3 hits are really hard? Yeah, that also applies here too. The demon is extremely hard. It has 3 hits, it has a powerful attack, and very strong side enemies. After dying twice to this, I realized I had to kill the side enemies first because they hit really hard. And after a while, I managed to kill all of them. The demon has an attack that turns people fearful, which he used like 5 times throughout the whole fight, of which only 1 worked on 1 person, practically wasting all of those turns and allowing me and Polly to kill him. Overall, if I didn't kill the imps, this fight would have been a lot harder, plus my luck is god tier sometimes. Rin's a goddamn trooper. Before this fight, I already knew Rin was gonna have to solo this since every other level teammate was on the other branch, and Steve was practically just a meat shield during this fight. My strategy was to constantly hyper and sprinkle Rin, which somehow worked? I don't know how, Rin's a damn trooper, I'll say it again. I'm skipping right to Dark Lord since Armor and Dragon have nothing special I haven't talked about yet. So Dark Lord, this is one of the most interesting fights in the game. The first phase is really hard due to his attacks dealing a lot of damage, but once you get to the "I'm sorry, did you think you were doing well?" it becomes freeze due to a strange property the Dark Lord has. Once he puts your teammates' faces onto imps, he stops attacking. Taking advantage of this, you use the faces me as a meat shield and attack with the other me. It's hella rude, but I'll take it. And with that, it's on to Traveler's Hub quests. Alright, we have to get through Traveler's Hub fast because my PC's space is almost no more. Yeti, virtually the same as King Golem, nothing special here. Hamburger, I thought it would be hard, but it really wasn't. UFO, not hard at all because I never use bananas anyway. Robot, it's just the introduction to life sprinkles, so automatically not hard. Ice Queen, not easy but not hard, I just had to be careful. Wolf-O-Wisp. We're not free yet. Remember when I said during the demon that bosses with 3 turns are really hard? Yeah, that applies here too. This thing can heal itself for 100 HP. That's almost a full turn on our end. The only way to beat this boss is to get unusually chirpy a lot, dealing more than 100 damage each turn. Still, really hard. Alright, the home stretch of the run. The Skyscraper. 4 bosses inhabit this place, and those are the final 4 bosses standing between us and completing the challenge. Here we go. Phantom of Evil can best be described in 1 sentence. Dark Lord's first phase extended. And if you remember what I said about Dark Lord is that the first phase is the hardest. This thing has a ton of health because even with Mage's Horseplay at the very beginning, it still took me a while to get past him. Still extremely doable, you just have to focus. Honestly, big ass honestly, I thought this would be a nightmare to pass since Polly was very underleveled and this was a split path. But by killing the general first with magic attacks to make sure the golem can't block them, it actually wasn't bad. Dare I say it was easy. This fight, easy peasy. Just hyper both of your teammates and you will kill them before you even notice. I know that because it happened to me. Genuinely, I ended up killing this guy before I even noticed. Here it is, the final fight of the run, and it's harder than I expected. The tadpoles are stupid hard to kill because they have a ton of HP for no reason. Despite not being as hard as the other bosses in the run, I ended up dying twice to this one because Krian and me would both die at the same time, therefore life sprinkles were of no use. The frog itself has a very powerful attack which caused the double deaths and consequently the losses. Eventually I was able to pull through and finish the challenge run. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.